All right, Blake, time for another podcast today. Processes everything. Got a good show.
We couldn't be more excited about our guest today, Jake Kinney. Jake was an intern for us for years and moved on to do his own management label with people like Connor Smith, who is now booming.
Now he's co-founded what he is calling Pioneer Artists, and that his co-founder is actually Chris Cappy, who everybody knows, Luke Combs' manager.
Luke Combs' manager. Jake is going to go on to do some amazing things, and we can't be more excited for you to hear this podcast. Stay tuned.
I'm living my best life. I wake up with the sunrise. It does not look a thing like I thought that it would. I'm living my best life. Yeah, living my best life.
There he is.
You got the star face cup.
Yes,
man.
the star face.
I drink out of it daily. And
Do you still have yours?
Yeah, it adds to everything that my friends think I am. And
Oh, yeah.
you know, a little extra.
You're a star of the show.
a little
man,
extra.
wherever
A little
you go.
star,
See,
of, the,
there's
star of the frat house.
There's a rule, though. You're not supposed to drink out of your own mug.
But Blake does.
But me and you do, because we're the star of the show.
See?
And that's how that rolls. up, babe?
What have you been twerking on? What have you been... Listen, here's the deal. Listen. When people are in Albany and they leave, right, there's something about seeing Albany people again. Like have you been in Nashville and like you run into Albany people? There's like this love.
All
this
roads
love
lead back to Albany, Georgia.
It's insane.
Somehow. I was in California. Some kid hits me up from Warner. I'm working at Warner Records. So we're at Top Golf at our Top Golf Summit 2 weeks ago. Some guy comes and daps me up and says, Albany, Georgia.
That's crazy.
And I was like, who are you? This kid went to Westover or Monroe or something and went to UGA and then is now working at Warner Records. And I was like, all roads lead back to Albany, Georgia. It's
He
insane.
lives in California now?
Lives in California. I forgot his name, but
Shout out.
It felt
Shout
like,
out
to
to
the
old
name
Fonzie.
but it's crazy what a Southern accent will do on the West Coast too.
That's- yeah.
People think you are about to cook them a peach cobbler, and give them a big old hug. And having a Southern accent on the West Coast is like Gil.
Yeah.
Walking in here is like, where's the accent from?
Yeah.
I'm like, golly.
It's a mystique.
Yeah, it's definitely, you definitely stand.
There's something about Albany that like trains you for the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this the other day, like Albany's tough, right?
Yep.
I mean, you can't get a haircut without people joking on you
Yep.
and your friends throwing you under the bus. But I think it gives you like this thick skin outside of Albany. It's like, oh, I've been through it all.
It's
Like,
very communal here. And it prepped me for Nashville because Nashville is completely relationship based. And so the music industry is. I tell everybody in LA, 'cause, I mean, LA's and New York's making this movement into Nashville now. And I work for an LA based record label that is trying to have a presence in Nashville. And I say, you can't say F you to someone at a show and not expect to see him at breakfast the next morning. And in LA, that may be the case in some instances. I mean, the music industry is very small, but it's very much the case in Nashville. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's taught me a lot. I mean, there's I don't know, Boyd Causey. I was talking to him. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Talking to him this week.
He was like, I think he was a student at the original OG Levee Studios.
Yeah, all his mutual followers seem to be that way,
Yeah.
like part of that Cole Swindell movement and then Luke Bryan movement into Nashville. But I was in a massive group text thread of tour managers looking for, we were having some tour bus problems, and and a 229 number pulled up, and I immediately texted him. It's like, who is this? Is your name Boyd Causey? And I'm from Albany too, so let's hang out. So I mean, it's fun. It's fun seeing how it all. I wish more. You had the Georgia movement into Nashville, and now it's slowed down a little bit. There's a lot of just homegrown Tennessee people like Jelly Roll, Connor, Mitchell Tenpenny, Ernest, all these guys. They're all succeeding out of being from Tennessee, and you got some Texas people there now. So
there's definitely something in the water. here. So, for those that don't know, we got Jake Kinney here. I am your 6th biggest fan, by the way. Like, I love.
I'll be your 8th.
Yeah,
he's 7, 8.
You're almost charting there,
Right.
you know.
But I'm so pumped up every day to see your Instagram posts, your life. Like, I'm living kind of through you. Like, I knew you when you were a kid, and then, like, you know, tell me about this evolution of Jake that blows our mind. We were talking about you earlier and like how you've evolved in such a short period of time, but walk me through like the Albany life of Jake Kinney, and then to what you're doing now.
Well, it started with y'all. It
start
started right here.
For my whole entire life, I've been part of the youth ministry and the children's ministry. I play drums for the worship ministry, and I perform.
I mean, everybody knows my sister, and so I mean,
And your mom and dad.
And my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I credit everything about being in those rooms to my sister. So, I mean, longer story short is I grew up around it. I grew up. It sounds a little arrogant, but I grew up backstage, and I couldn't help it. When I went to a show, I usually had the opportunity to be. Around the teams and the artists and learning the behind the scenes and behind the curtain. And so from there, I fell in love with it. I'm reading a book, or I'm listening to a book right now called, what's it called? Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't know if y'all have heard of it or not, but then it reminded me, like, the turning point is whenever Chris Cappy took me to dinner and showed me Unreasonable Hospitality.
And who's Chris Cappy?
Yeah.
He's Luke Combs' manager. So this is around 2018, 2019, and took me to dinner as Luke was blowing up. The Joker didn't have a dinner. He had every dinner filled up. And he made time for me and Mary Catherine and explained to me the music industry and the fact that management kind of oversees all operations. There's so many people and so many moving parts within music that the manager kind of connects all those dots. But within the management company and under the manager, there's a business manager and a day-to-day and a coordinator, and then you're in charge of the tour manager and the production manager out on the road. And under those production teams, you have crews. I mean, Luke now has 60 people traveling around overnight, and so the manager oversees all that. And for some reason, I fell in love with that conversation and that idea of having a hand in an artist's career. So from there, I had to go and set out and do my own thing. So I started managing a rock band out of Albany, and went to Athens with them, and then other acts around, and figured out the short form content game that we all know is a headache, and figured out how to blow Connor up on TikTok. Connor Smith, who I manage now, up on TikTok.
Who's awesome, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's blowing up.
You'll have to meet him one day.
I know.
You met him over FaceTime the other night. From there, I tried to establish a network around Nashville. I think a lot of people appreciated me wanting to learn the game early. And and as you all know, you want to invest into people. You want to mentor people when they're young, before they really take a full peek behind the curtain and see how this crazy industry, whatever we're in, works. And so I was blessed enough to get into it early enough before that, like 21, 22-year-old threshold, where when you graduate college, everybody's like, you're done. It's just another kid asking for a job. And I got to take a peek behind the curtain with a lot of cool people that I have to credit a lot of my now success to in Nashville. So from there, I just kept on trying to get my feet wet in every little pocket of Nashville. And I called myself a free agent for 3 years, because I just wanted to pop around and see a little taste of every little thing, because I knew whenever my ultimate goal was management and guiding an artist through their career, but I had to know all the ins and outs, and I'm learning daily the ins and outs of that. So here we are now, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but we're having.
It just seems like you were born for this, though. I mean, like.
You're hyping me up way too much, bro.
Not really, though. I mean,
you're likable to start with, right? If you weren't likable, that's how
you got to be likable.
Right.
I will say that. Right. The best piece of advice I ever received was, it's a lot easier to do business with people when you're nice. Mm-hmm. And I carried that with me. That was from Mandolin Monchick, Lainey Wilson's manager, when she was gracious enough to give me a lunch. It was drinks. I had an hour of her time between one meeting and her dinner to get drinks with her, and I was going through it. And she said, Jake, you're gonna figure out that you can be mean, but it's a lot easier to do business with people when you're nice. And I've carried that with me. Take the high road whenever.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
above the fray, thinking always
you're
up here.
Very much so.
But there's so many people that think they see what you've done, how successful you've been. They think, man, like there's thousands of kids that want to do what you're doing, right? It's almost like the Nashville scene. It's like everybody goes and like 0.00007% actually make it.
Yeah.
How'd you make it? Like everybody wants Jake Kinney's job, and I know you hustle and you work hard, but you got a blessed life. Mm-hmm. How'd you get into that? Like, what was the end? That's
what I asked myself that the other day when I was just like, how do you get here? Like, legitimately, how do you get here? Because I try to help guys out my age to get their foot in the door. And I'll say I really am blessed. My sister has never directly, until about a month or two ago, she never directly sent me someone's email and connected me on text, unless that person reached out and want to get connected. But she said you have to go find the success for yourself. And so but I will say whenever I walk into a room, being associated with my sister does me so much more than I could ever ask for. But I think just caring, like being in the music industry, it's a very selfless role, and to care much more about someone else's career than yours says so much. And you have to put yourself in that position to care a lot more about Connor's success in my world. I care so much more about his success than anybody else's success in Nashville. And so it's a weird spot. We're trained to go and be an entrepreneur and go and chase your dream. But you have to chase someone else's dream for them, and then also take care of their truck whenever they get in a car wreck. You know what I mean? That's usually jobs, or make sure that they're not spending too much money on clothes, or making sure that they have enough money before you have enough money to buy a house for your family and get married and be able to get set roots down in Nashville. Before any of that, you have to worry about them and make sure that they have the opportunity to do that. So I think it was caring before anything. I loved it. I'm kind of wired just to love the ins and outs of it. And I don't really know why. I also like caring, and my heart is championing young artists. Mm-hmm. I've seen the music industry is changing so much recently, especially with LA and New York coming into town. They're very much more competitive deals and artist-friendly deals. I'm very glad the way that the record deal structure is moving. But I've seen a lot of really rough ones. And I have a heart for championing behind artists and making sure they get in the right hands. There's a lot of deals that will screw you up for about 10, 15, 20 years. And we all know that it's very critical on how you when an artist breaks and how they break, and how that's structured into the long-term trajectory of their career. So I would say caring.
Paint that picture versus 10 years ago. The music industry is so artist-friendly now.
Yeah.
Paint that picture. Give a comparison to people that have no idea what your life is like, what that world is like.
Yeah, it stems from streaming. Mm-hmm. The advent of Spotify and Apple Music. Ultimately, iTunes. iTunes was the first digital platform that allowed for digital listening. And you know, we were trying to figure it out with Napster and all the stuff where you're snubbing, LimeWire, all that stuff for a minute. But they figured it out, and it's streaming. You know, granted, there's a lot of heat that streaming gets. It doesn't pay out artists as well, but it gives artists such a platform to do whatever they want to on their own. From streaming, then came short form content. Social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, in which artists can market all their music by themselves and distribute all their music to whoever they want to by themselves. Right. So instead of having to have a record label to put your CD on the shelves of Walmart, we within 5-10 years we immediately switched to this is everything that a kid can do from his dorm room at the University of Georgia. Yeah. And so with that switch, the record labels don't have as much power to then bring an artist in and say, hey, if you want to be a star, you have to sign with me. Right. Mm-hmm. And they don't have that leverage over the deals. And artists aren't in 1,000,000% need of a record. I'll tell any artist, because I work for a record company, I'm saying that they don't need me. But I will say, go and see, tell me the percentage of arena and stadium level artists that aren't signed to a record deal. It's slim to none. So I think record labels are very useful, but we've had to change the perspective that we're taking in signing artists. And, you know, now this gives them, you know, more fair splits. And I agree. I think versus selling an album for $12 at Walmart, now, you know, an artist gets 3/10 or 5/10 of a penny per stream. Mm-hmm. That's a big change for the record labels too. That's why we rely a lot on our catalog artists. You know, we have the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Warner Music that generate a lot of revenue for us because those are catalog artists. So what we try to build here is catalog artists. When we sign an artist, we want them to be streaming for the years and years and years to come. And so it's a complete pivot within the music industry where it has been very, very record label driven for the last 100 years, as long as record labels have been about. Now it's very artist friendly and artist driven, what they want. Artists have more control now. They have the ability to record and release music as they please. And so they kind of determine their career.
How important is it now that you said that? How important is, I heard Darius Rucker say this. He's like, you used to tour to sell your albums. Mm-hmm. Now you're putting your albums out there so they'll come to your concert. Mm-hmm. Are you still finding in 2024 your artists are, you know, behaving the same way or in that same model? Yeah, we call it touring on top of music. Okay.
And so that's pretty much what we allow the music to then propel us into a touring base. Every artist is different. We have plenty of artists that have a viral moment. Sure. In which they go and sell out a tour within 3 days.
Zach Bryan.
Yeah. And Zach was more of a developmental artist. We tap him at Warner as a developmental artist. We signed him whenever he had about a million to 2 million weekly listeners. And his consumption wasn't obviously what it is right now, or even it wasn't what we're signing or freaking out about right now. But yeah, Zach's an oddball. He was streaming 1 million to 2 million, but playing coffee shops still. And then Zach has complete control over his career, which is really, really interesting. And how he broke out. But yeah, I mean, we use music to propel us into touring, and if you don't have the music's got to come first, and that has never changed. If a song isn't working, then it won't change. Now there's oddballs like a Billy Strings, the jam band culture. They can go and tour for years without having much of a streaming presence or a digital presence, and be able to sell out shows because people want the show itself. But if we're talking about mainstream contemporary artists, then it's huge.
It's awesome. It's awesome that you're like probably at the beginning of this new wave of how music is working. You know, and can't wait to see what the future holds for your life. But
It's a blissful ignorance
Well,
about the past. You know?
but in going back to that, like, you have now kind of seen behind the curtain,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even more than you wanted to see, right? How do
Very
you
much.
stay? You're so like Jake Kinney, right? You're still like so much. You haven't changed your personality. You're still wired. You're still hustling. But how have you stayed grounded through looking behind that curtain and meeting all these artists and these famous people and these celebrities? What do you attribute that to? Just kind of where you are now and like how you stayed grounded the whole way.
Yeah, I think being from Albany is weird because everybody thinks I'm Simon Cowell from the American Idol sometimes, or what America's Got Talent sometimes, and then you go to Nashville and you're just like the young kid on the block trying to hustle. I mean, I've learned that every artist puts on their pants the same exact way every single morning, no matter who they are. There's when I was young into it, I got starry-eyed a little bit, but now it's everybody's a part of this business, and it's a business. Me and Connor were talking the other day, and that someone asked him the question around the idea of, this is your dream. Like, imagine just only writing songs and performing them for a living. And he said, man, that's about 10% of it. Mm-hmm. And that's very much the case. If you're an artist, you're a CEO of a business and you are commanding your teams. Ultimately, I have plenty of people around me that I have to make sure that are all in the right spot. But Connor is the leader of his business, and that takes up 90% of his time. And so balancing all that out, and when you walk into these rooms with all these artists, whether it's Luke Combs this past weekend or Jordan Davis or even a Tucker Wetmore who we just put out a song with, you walk into these rooms and everybody realizes, hey, we're entrepreneurs here. We're building our own business. So everybody connects on that front. I envy the artists that allow their managers just go and do, and they create, and then it all of a sudden blows up. But when you are a hands-on artist, I hate saying that term, but hands-on artist, it definitely aids to being able to break. But I think the reason why I'm here is because I'm able to just walk into rooms and connect. I love being with the teams. I love being with the artists. I love people. I love traveling. I love being able to experience all these different parts of the world, because when you're from Albany, it's kind of a bubble here, and we're grateful for the bubble because all roads lead back to Albany. But when you get into the thick of it, and in Nashville or LA or New York, you'll realize there's so many different types of people out there that are so cool to chat with, and also people that respect. I'm so glad with that streaming and digital game and the short form transition to the industry, it allows people like me to have a spot at the table to sit at, and I'm really grateful. I'm so grateful for the time I'm coming into the industry, because usually I would have to wait. If this was 10-15 years ago, I'd have to wait in line. I would have to go work the mailroom somewhere for 4 or 5 years before I really have a chance at having a seat at the table. But now I'm sort of able to. I have great people behind me, though. I will say that.
When did you realize you were going to get invited to the table? That's always fun to ask somebody.
I still don't feel like I'm invited to the table, honestly. A lot of times I still don't feel like it. Probably about a year ago-ish, maybe at the top of this year, when Warner and another record label in New York started hitting me saying, hey, you got something, like, come and work for us. That was pretty humbling there. And I was like, wow, okay, this is legit. And then when Connor entrusted me when we had started having the conversation back in February, March about me managing him, and him entrusting me there was pretty cool. Immediately, you jump into that management partnership and go and talk to all the partners, and they're like, "You are 22 years old." So I immediately thought I was the man, had a seat at the table, and then got it stripped away from me. So I had to prove myself, and I'm continuing to prove myself. But I think ultimately, me and Cappy, Chris Cappy, who Cappy's always been the guy in my corner, and I just partnered with him at. He's at Make Wake Artists, has 23 artists on his roster. I just partnered with him on Connor to co-manage Connor with him. And he hit me very early on, about a year or two ago, and was like, "Hey, man, like everybody, if anybody substantial in the music industry tells you different, then they're wrong. But everybody wakes up with this thing called imposter syndrome.
Right.
Yeah.
They wake up knowing that they can lose their job, especially managers. Everybody can wake up and know that their job may not be to manage their respective artists at the end of the day. So I'm guilty of it. I wake up every single morning knowing that Connor could have made a completely different decision with someone that's much more experienced. But I have to care, and I think that's why we work together so well, is because I do care about him so much.
Connor, although he's not a Georgia boy, right? He's from Nashville area. Is that right?
Yeah, he's from Nashville.
Like, I met him in Charleston.
You did? You have met him? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good evening. You don't remember, but he seems like he gets it, and he gets the industry at a young age, and he's even like spoken to and written songs about like the Music Machine. He recently, I'm sure you were involved with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I saw him talking about like kind of, the potentials of getting screwed by record labels and record deals and all that stuff. Do you see a lot of that where like the machine is trying to like take over a lot of the, not just the bottom line, but like kind of mold these people where Connor's like, I'm going to be myself no matter what. And specifically like Connor was talking about in this interview about, I'm going to continue to be myself. I'm going to continue to put music out that I like. Is that why you like Connor's kind of like he has his own thing and he's going to continue to do that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think a record label can 1,000,000% shape an artist. And I think that's what it was 10, 15 years ago. They picked what you wore, how you sounded, where you played. I mean, everything, who your fan base was, and they were able to craft that. But like I said, it's in the artist's hands now. And I've always said it, but authenticity is winning. It's winning now. And I think it's in the artist's favor. That if you're an authentic artist and you're able to take, then you get to live your life freely. Imagine starting a career and putting on to be someone that you aren't, and you find yourself 30 years down the road as a very successful artist, but you aren't who you are to 99% of the people that see you on stage or in interviews or whatnot. So I think it's a part of it's a part of the machine to try to create this successful artist. That's part of their job. I mean, that's why you sign a record deal. Yeah. But Connor is the most authentic person. I mean, his new music coming out is him, and he's finally finding this. And it took him. Connor's been signed to BMI since he was 9 years old. He was the second youngest artist to sign to BMI, next to Michael Jackson. So he's been around it. He's been writing songs for this long, and he'll tell you at the core, he's a songwriter. And so he's finally he's getting to this point where he's really truly being authentically him and expressing himself through his music and through he's taking his hat off. Took his hat off for the first time in 5 years, and so we're jumping to that. That's so cool to me. But it's the
hat off era.
It's the hat off era. His most recent album cover had a hat off, and it was a big deal. It was for him to not have to put a hat on and be considered a country music artist. That was a thing back in the day. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So he's as authentic as they come, and he's extremely, extremely, extremely smart. He's actually fasting this month. He's fasting YouTube because every free every free minute that he had, he would look up, he would educate himself on YouTube, some philosophical person on preaching them. And he's fasting that a little bit because he came to us, was like, I may have a little bit too much information in my head right now. I need to just like talk to y'all and just like hang out. So
do y'all get caught up into talking about YouTube and social media and how much you're embedded in that world? Do you ever get caught up into like trolls and like creeping around, seeing what people are saying, and like?
I think every artist is guilty of it a little bit, and it's so accessible. You know, it's a lot of them get caught up in what one person is saying rough about them versus 70 other comments on a post that say this is sick. And I think it's inherently part of human nature to look at what you're doing wrong versus what you're doing right. But Connor's been really, really, really good about just blind. He deletes social media, and just because he knows what it does to him, and that he could watch a philosophical YouTube video and learn a lot more. So I think it's also so easy to become a critic of music nowadays. And my buddy Dylan Marlowe went through it where a tastemaker page was just kind of trolling on him for people to review music, and one person have an opinion about your music, but it may not translate to the streaming numbers. Whereas a lot of people are enjoying it. It's part of it, and I think you just learn to brush it off. But a comparison's a killer, and I mean y'all know this too. Comparison's a killer. Everybody's going to be doing something better than you, or more mainstream than you, that's working, and you don't realize how it's working because it's a 19-year-old that recorded an album in his bedroom, and like technically it didn't make sense. I think Zach Bryan got so much heat in his first albums because his songs didn't make sense to a lot of three chords and the truth, very standard guys in Nashville that were writing the hits. And so it's something that you kind of have to work with. I think an open mind always helps. But
yeah, sure.
What's the standard out there? Like in the movie world, there's like the Rotten Tomatoes, which you could get in there and the people have a vote, and then there's the critics. What's the standard out there now?
I think there's a page called Country Central that is the leader. They're the ones that put out their reviews and study these artists. These guys I've been buddies with the owner of Country Central since they had like less than 10,000 followers, but what they were putting out was really great, and they stay on top of it. It used to, I mean, I'm not saying that Rolling Stone or Billboard has gone away, but we don't have the time anymore to read an article. It's very much what you see on TikTok and very short form content based. So also Country Central's done so well is because they give the fans the opportunity to chime in. So they do these hot take Tuesdays where they come in there and they're like, hey, insert your hot takes, and then you vote on them. And it may be from everything from, fans saying that this is Zach Bryan's last commercial album before he goes blah, blah, or Connor Smith's Steal My Thunder is a radio single, if I've ever heard one, being written for one, whatever it may be, and everybody's able to vote on it. But it gives the fans and the artists have so much more say in what they're doing. And so Country Central is the first one to latch onto that and give the fans a real.
It ain't the suits anymore. It's the people.
Yeah, it's very much the people.
Suit right here.
This is the suit.
I showed up the Castellos. They're signed to Warner, and they're in the studio on Sunday, and I pulled up and was just trying to listen through some of their takes, and you're the first suit that showed up. I was like, I am not in a suit. I was in an AFCO shirt and some free fly shorts and flip flops. I was like, if this is a suit, then I can deal with that the rest of my.
All right, so on the non-management side, tell us what you do on for the label or whatever, if you can.
Yes, I'm an A&R. It's called Artist and Repertoire
with Warner. right?
Yeah, with Warner Records. So it's so confusing
It's
because
an up-and-coming little company.
Yeah, you may have heard of them.
I try to be humble about it sometimes and just say like,
And
I work for
sometimes
this. Yeah, sometimes you have to be like A&R Warner Records. But I tried. I mean, that's 5% of the time. But I try to. I try to be humble about it and be like, yeah, I work for this company out of LA called Warner Records, and I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until people were like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So really, really blessed to be here. But I'm an A&R that I'm the best way to put it, someone that's not in the music industry, is I'm an MLB scout for a music record label. And I go out and I pursue talent. Whenever I first, Aaron Bayshook is at the helm of Warner Records, and I sat down with him and I said, I love championing behind artists. I'm so grateful to be here right now because I love championing behind artists, and it's my passion. So I go and I talk. I'd go and chat and see if artist is fit to be at Warner. If I'm lucky enough to get them to where we sign them to a record deal, then I'll be a part of their entire process, from recording to the overall strategy of breaking them. Implementing our viral teams. We have a viral marketing team led by this genius named Will Morrow at Warner, and it's 7 or 8 folks that truly study viral marketing. So if we just signed an artist, Dasha Alston, the boot stomping girl, and our viral team was very much a part of her success through that song. But we implement it silently to artists like Zach Bryan and Gavin Adcock and the Castellos, and figure out how to generate steam around these releases. So anyways, I go out and I'm a part of that entire process. The signing process is so competitive now. With LA and New York coming in town, you almost have double, if not triple, the amount of people that want to sign country music. Whereas 5 years ago, that would have never been the case. So I think Nashville's learning. I think LA and New York are learning how to figure out how to work all this together. And LA probably doesn't know as much as Nashville knows about country music, but we're trying to learn. I think that's why I'm here, and it's really interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, I love championing behind artists, man. It's fun. A&R is a fun position to be.
Yeah, you got to dig and find these artists, right? They don't know you.
I will say I give so much credit to our data research team. Probably during this, I've had 2 or 3 artists sent to me. Hey, check out this guy. We think he's cool. And so that's literally my job, is just to listen and be in the right rooms and go to shows. Some raise their hand a lot quicker and a lot more obvious than others. A lot of it's driven by data. A lot of our signings are. The data around music is nuts nowadays. So we're able to have a full grasp of what the artist is capable of currently and what we can add. We're literally just listening. And a lot of these kids are 18 to 25 years old. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm able to connect with them. I'm able to sit right here and just be a friend. I think just being an advocate is one of the best things about it. So
when's the last time you were starstruck?
Golly, I had this artist. It was an artist, I think. When we were looking for partners to partner with Connor, because I was solely managing them. We were looking at partners. I thought I was going to talk to Corin Capshaw on the phone, who's the head of Red Light Management, and I would have probably been a little starstruck there. He manages Dave Matthews, Chris Stapleton, Lady A, all these massive artists, but I think Red Light probably has 400 or 500 artists by now. But he's genuinely one of the coolest. I haven't really been starstruck. I love Brent Cobb so much.
He's awesome.
Met Brent Cobb for the first time last year, and I was like, wow, what a genuine. I love genuine folks and genuine artists. It's sometimes harder to find than realizing.
Another South Georgia boy.
It's another South Georgia boy, and he gave me his phone number, man, and that was one of the coolest things that I've never. he's actually at Make Wake Artists, who I partner with Cappy, and they set me up. He was playing the Georgia Theater, and they set me up with this tour manager. Like, hey, Jake's gonna be at the show. Just take care of him. Come back there and say hey to Brent. Well, I brought 2 of my buddies, and when his tour manager came and got me, another group of folks was leaving the green room. I walk into the green room, and Brent just says, all right, sit down. Let's go. And I've never walked into a green room with an artist completely uninterrupted that genuinely wants to sit there. He had no idea who I was, and he sat there and genuinely wanted to catch up. And I've never, a green room, as y'all know, is just hectic. And it's a, hey, you want a picture? All right, bye.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, let's go. Let's sit down. Let's catch up really quick. And that's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me with an artist.
That is so awesome.
It was so cool.
I went to see Sturgill Simpson years ago. He was kind of on the up.
Yeah.
And happened to run, this wasn't a green room deal, but I just saw him around the back of the building, and he was like, it was the first show he played without his lead guitar player. And he played all the lead parts. And he's like, hey, are you a musician? Because I look like Charles Manson. But he was like, how did I sound? And we just talked about like his guitar tones and stuff. It's just such a cool deal.
Such
to
a
see
cool.
These guys, it's like, they're normal people.
I love these guys that if you can fly under the radar,
Yeah.
I think you're such more of a personable human. And some artists can, some artists can't. Sturgill and Brent have definitely made it a point to live their life the way they want to live it and create music. Those are the guys that don't have to devote the full 90% of just running their business. They create art and solely put it out. And that's the most important thing that I think you can do. I hate it. The rest of it consumes 90% of your time. But yeah, those are the coolest. When I get to catch up with artists that truly live and breathe the craft is fun.
How much has your sister's awesome, by the way. I've met her a few times, but how much has she played a role in what you're doing today?
I'll say I tell people in the industry, don't tell me something that you don't want Mary Catherine to know. we come back and I'd say, you are not going to believe this, but we're getting this cut with this artist and this is happening and this team said that this to me and I'm the happiest guy. And she humbles me. That doesn't matter yet until you meet this person. She's I also say that she keeps me on my toes because she recently exited Spotify, and so whenever she was working at Spotify, she's a workhorse. And I would be sitting there on the couch at 10 o'clock at night, and she would walk in and immediately open her computer and start working. I would look at her. I guess I got to. So I would start working again. I would open up my computer and start working. She's been the best sounding board I could ever have. She has been, even in Connor's career, for Connor personally, she's just a shoulder to lean on and someone that's definitely helped guide that process. She comes from more of the corporate world, so she's able to implement so much more process and structure into how I'm just an ambitious young guy that wants to go and get. And she's like, well, think about this. Come on, and figure out how the pieces are all going to connect. So, I mean, invaluable. I will say, and we made it a point very early on that she isn't this girl that's going to place everything in my lap on a silver platter. But like I said, just being able to walk into a room and have the same last name as Mary Catherine has been invaluable in so many ways. I wonder where I would be without that. But now she's gone from Spotify. I gotta figure out all the new Spotify connections on playlisting, and then Apple Music too, and Amazon and Pandora. All these folks, it's a big deal. Working those people is extremely important nowadays. It's almost like radio back in the day. You know how you work radio folks. It's very important, our relationship with them and how we pursue that relationship to make sure that they're taken care of and we are too.
I got 2 shout outs that I want to make. One is to Davis and Miss Angel.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Good people.
Good.
They're the
people.
best, right?
They're the best.
How has that played a role? I mean, obviously they were your parents,
Yeah.
but like your dad, awesome musician, singer. Your parents are fantastic. Like, how has that played a role into who Jake is today as this music guru?
Well, my dad loves it.
Yeah.
My dad loves it, and I'm guilty of this, but for in the past, I've been going through hard things and trying to explain to him, and I got to the point where a lot of times I would say, you just don't understand. It's like, I can't believe I would say that, but and you just don't understand. You're a doctor out here saving folks' lives, and you just don't understand. But dad's that entrepreneurial structure. Mom is 100% the structure. She makes sure that every bank statement is completely aligned. In the family and within my life. She holds me to it. And dad's the guy that's like, hey, take this jump. Go and jump off of this cliff.
Oh, yeah.
But make sure that there's this launching pad here and this pad here, and make sure that this parachute's working before you jump off. And dad's that structure in all the chaos, I think, also, and that he supports my jumps, because I named my new management company Pioneer Management, because after this Corey Asbury song, it's called "How Could I Die in Safety If I Was Born to Be a Pioneer," and that's just me. I love blazing a trail and trying out new things, and Mom doesn't love that as much, but I'm glad, because there has to be, in that book, Unreasonable Hospitality, is you got to have some sort of structure into the creative that goes into being a restaurateur or being a music business creative. I love getting in the studio, but I also know that your taxes got to get paid at the end of the day. So that part kind of sucks, and I'm not as good at that yet, but we'll get there.
Takes a village. It takes a village.
Explain to me y'all's process, because y'all are due process, a sector of the Levee Studios.
Yeah.
Which combines the process and the creative. So you have Grant Ty running around here that just wants to shoot videos, but y'all say, hey, we only have this much for each video.
It's crazy how much it's grown. We were talking about pioneers this morning in our meeting. We're having an all hands meeting. We have a lot of people in Atlanta that came down or whatever. And in the nerdiest way possible, it's blazing a trail in process. I don't think there's anyone else that ever thought about taking written manuals and turning the camera on and going, we're about to make, quote, TikTok videos out of your entire employee playbook. What a weird thing to do.
Yep.
But we're surrounded by a bunch of pioneers who kind of catch the vision of what we're doing and setting companies up to win. Again, I'm envious. You're in the music world. I love music, but I'm also this big old nerd, right? And so I love seeing the process, and everyone in sports and business and all these things say, trust the process. And no one ever really knows what that means, right? So we just put feet to all right, what does trust the process mean? Where is the process? Where is it located? How do you capture it? How do you give it to the next person down the road?
Yep.
And we just ended up solving this massive problem that we're finding out more and more every single day that companies need.
What does that look like?
So, every company.
And I'm asking these questions because this was almost an idea when I left.
Right.
When I left here.
Right.
This was the new office that we're sitting in right now. And it was Blake jumping off that cliff and saying, it was during COVID.
Right.
It was during COVID
with no safety net.
Yeah, with no safety net. And I was just churning out how to wash your hands. You know, videos on how to wash your hands.
Well, think about that. Your industry just applied data to creatives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what due process is doing to business, because so many of these people have no idea. Like, oh, how do we even do that? And what if Miss Betty leaves, right?
Very much
And so it's data-driven business.
Yep.
Well, like, you know, every organization, I don't care if it's in music, you know, Warner, right? Or you take Tyson Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. Every organization has a secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And that secret sauce has been bottled up to make your company.
Mm-hmm.
And I just asked one question. Where's the recipe located? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you find is the recipe's always located in this
All these papers or book.
that no one's ever going to see,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, here's the secret sauce. Well, guess what? Nobody reads anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do we take the secret sauce and bottle it up so we can pass it down to the next generation of worker? And what we found out along the way was that the goodies, like the real good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is tucked away in Ronnie's brain.
Yep.
Now we got some big issues because Ronnie's about to leave,
Yep.
right? He's put in his 2 weeks notice, and now everybody's going,
Uh-oh.
the secret sauce is about to walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've become experts, and not just me, this entire team have become experts in extracting secret sauce.
Well, the process is so important.
Yeah.
I am learning very quickly that training, I understand why corporations literally put their person through training, because if we don't have a process about how we go about things, then even if it's where this lamp sits,
Yeah.
if you're in a restaurant, or how to file the HR complaint and who to send that to, if we don't have a process, then we're screwed, because whenever you start expanding, that's whenever it gets iffy. And I'm trying to implement this within our teams in the Connor world. Like our production manager, young, ambitious guy, reminds me a lot like me. But he called me and asked for 3 dates that we could start this new package that we're sending out on the road, and how we're gonna ship it from here to here. And I said, whoa. Give me 2 seconds. We have to go through the process here. I haven't even received the budget for this yet.
Right.
You know, I haven't received a quote. I don't know if this is going to cost $50,000. Then we're going to have to relook at this. So we got to take steps in the process. It's what I was talking to Ashton yesterday about this. Ashton, man, shout out,
Shout out,
Ashton, man.
Shout out.
Good people.
Good people, bless, hashtag. But I was talking to Ashton. I was like, we have to figure out a good way to implement a process to our guys, because especially our road crew, who Ashton is in charge of, our road crew is the tour manager, just figure out the process and exactly how we go about things, because especially whenever you have employees rotating in and out. And I think even Albany's finding that now, to where more and more businesses are moving to Albany, whether we see it or not, but it may be the car wash, the 10th car wash on Gillianville Road.
Yeah.
And that employees come in and out. So you have to have that process. That's our road crew too. We've had 4 different guitar players in the last year. And so you're at our Avery's, our OG Avery's last show at IOP, man.
IOP.
So figuring out that process and how we.
Well, and this is the last thing I'll say about that, but pro tip.
Yeah.
1, you got to figure out what the process is. Number 2, you got to bottle it up. And number 3, you got to make it accessible to everybody really fast. We have what's called, I call it the bull riding test. If you can't find a process in 8 seconds, you fell off the bull, right?
Yeah.
So as you're passing this process down to the next person, if it's not accessible, quick. That's why I love TikTok, right? Because you can find anything in seconds.
Yep.
And we've just taken that mentality of accessibility to the workspace. And again, it's a little bit on the nerdier side. A lot of times it's on the, where's this HR complaint filed? But everything's a process, right? And that way you can hire for personalities. Man, if you know what you're doing and you know what your process is, you can whistle while you work.
Yep,
and you can have fun. But if you don't know what the process is, you're sitting in the corner like, Smeagol without a ring.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm about to tear somebody up. And so we alleviate a lot of that stress. It's freaking awesome.
That's great. Y'all need a Terry Ho process.
Little
Bottle
yum-yum
it up
sauce.
in a little yum sauce.
We've been able with this team to expand across the U.S. just even in the last year and a half.
Heck yeah.
And we haven't yet to walk into an organization, multi-billion-dollar organization that goes, yeah, we don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
It is innovative. We didn't plan on being something that was, pioneering, but it is, and we're going to blaze the trail for process across the world.
That's so cool to see, because we would walk in here during COVID and be like, we got XXX organization. We got a call with them.
Yeah.
And we were excited for it. We were pumped. It was like the local college,
Governor's
man.
office came
It-
down.
Yeah, governor's
Riz,
office.
Kim,
Now y'all
yeah.
are just flying back and forth from Atlanta weekly.
Yeah.
Which is great. Y'all have multiple offices, right?
Yeah, we're opening up a few other locations, and that's why we're meeting now. But Atlanta's expanded, and Atlanta's great because you can just zip out on a plane pretty quickly.
Yep.
And Atlanta's just blowing up anyway. I mean,
Y'all need to get into Nashville.
that's on our radar. Nashville, Dallas
Awesome.
are next on the.
Those are two of my favorite spots. Spent some time in Dallas this summer, and Austin, Texas too. Austin's amazing. It's there's a lot of cool spots.
So when when people are having a good time and they have a couple of drinks, people do different things when they have a few drinks.
Very much so.
Some people, go to the next club. Some people, go home. Some people.
Depends with who.
For me, I got to ask you this. So, like, when I have a couple of drinks, my go-to is to FaceTime my favorite people.
Is that why you FaceTime me the other night?
What do you think about my FaceTimes, man? Are you okay with this? Periodically, I'll keep them to a minimum.
I love your FaceTimes. I'm a FaceTime guy. I learned that LA and New York FaceTime.
Yeah.
Hey man, let me call you later today. When they call you, they FaceTime you. And I got completely thrown off guard because, like I said, whenever I kind of figured out, okay, like I may be doing something right, is whenever the New York and the LA based label were pursuing me. My first call with these folks, I had my shirt off in bed, about to go to bed. I was on there in LA time, so it was about 5 or 6 o'clock, and I had just gotten home. Was like, I'm done. And I just get a FaceTime call from Miles Gersh, who's my guy. Shout out Miles Gersh. He signed Zach Bryan. Who is, I forgot that other artist he signed. But I got a FaceTime from him, and ever since then, dude, you get FaceTime call. I love a FaceTime call, but you always got to be ready for them. You got to be ready for them. I try to pull that. It keeps you on your toes a little bit.
Yeah.
I've tried to hire some people, and you down for a call, and I just FaceTime them out of the blue. They don't answer the first time, and 2 minutes later they FaceTime.
You got to put their shirt on.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
That's in LA.
Yeah. But yeah.
What is the future of Jake Kinney Enterprises?
That's a good question. I think I'm figuring that out daily. But so I just launched. It's actually not announced, but it'll be announced tomorrow. Launched Pioneer Artist, which is a venture with Connor and then Chris Cappy at Make Wake Artists. So my dream is to keep on expanding with artists. My roster in Pioneer. Expanding my partnership with Cappy. Cappy is a genius. He's amazing. He could walk in here and make you feel at home too. He's a big old teddy bear, and
I know the feeling. You gotta have a partner. He's a genius.
Yep. You gotta have a teddy bear. You gotta have a teddy bear. And then A&R with Warner. I love it. I'm about to get one of my first true legitimate artists under my belt, and I'll be able to develop him. And I love championing behind artists. So I think the next steps are continuing to build out Connor, and then continuing to build out artists under Pioneer while also breaking them at Warner Records. So it's fun. I think I said I dipped my toes in every little pond I could in Nashville, and I think I'm finally finding my tree stand that I can sit in for a minute and hunt. So,
Well, I can't tell you how much Tracy and I love you.
Oh yeah, big
And
fan.
we are champions of whatever you're doing.
well, I love y'all too because I use the Levee as a reference all the time.
In what context?
Every time I am on
Have you ever heard of the Levee
Studios?
You may have not heard of them. Every time I'm on a video shoot or any content guy, some content guy gave me his camera the other day, and I was like, I got this. And I was like, I used to work at the Levee Studios, dude.
Back up.
But when we're on a set, dude, I'm gripping. I'm very hands on. They're like, how do you know how to do this? I was Levee Studios, man.
Hold my camera.
I used to do it, and then short form world, man.
Yeah.
Short form world is insane, and I can just churn out little videos because of my time here. So I'm grateful for y'all. Y'all kept me on that digital marketing train.
You have crushed it, dude.
Oh yeah, man.
We want to move into the segment.
You want to do this?
Yeah.
We always play a game with our
right,
guests.
let's play
before we
it.
go.
Let's play it.
It's called First Class or Bus Pass. So if you love it, you'd say, we'll mention any random topic. You say, oh man, that's first class. But if it's Bus Pass, some you don't like. For me,
Okay.
I'm a big chocolate chip cookie fan, so that's
First class.
First class.
So Blake, you want to take a stab at this?
First class or bus pass? Luke Bryan.
Now he's on the spot.
First class. I love you, dude. I love you, Luke. I love you, Carrie. He's the best. He is one of the best.
South Georgia boy.
Man, how could you not love Luke?
I know.
How could you not love Luke?
Tour buses.
First class.
Depends on this
Good
route.
Lord. I spent a year of my life riding in the front seat of a Freightliner Sprinter van. Then I brought Ashton Man on board, and he's got a bunk on the bus his first week. So there we go. Yeah, definitely a tour bus first class. Other than the cost around tour bus. Good.
What's the grossest thing you've ever seen on a tour bus? So,
I can't say.
all right,
can't
cool.
mention.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
Chiropractors.
Bus pass. Bus pass.
We love you.
I've gotten turn these mics up.
I need one right now. Davis, where are you?
Need an
Where are
algorithm
Davis?
adjustment.
You hear that?
Ooh, that was a little
Yeah, I figured out how to do it. Nah. If you had a headache, if you had pneumonia, it was like, all right, just go down and get an adjustment.
I'm the ghost. Yeah.
You had the stomach bug. Hey, just make sure you get an adjustment and just drink a Coke right after. You'll be
Have
fine.
you seen the guy on socials that's rapping? He's buckling you in, and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
he's out in Dallas.
You should ask my dad about that.
Oh
He
my
hates
God.
those guys.
ASMR.
He hates them. He hates them.
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh. Nashville hot chicken.
Never had it.
Really?
Never had it. So I have to say, bus pass there.
Really?
Never had Hattie B's. I mentioned that to someone. An artist came into town
That's really good.
a few weeks ago and wanted Hattie B's, and I was like, I've never been. The line,
it's
it's a little bit of a tourist
it's
trap.
touristy.
And I'm not a hot guy,
Yeah.
not a spicy guy. So
You gotta have it though, just to try it. It may be fun first.
I do need to try it. You all should try. I don't even know, a Montucky beer. That's what all the eclectic spots in Nashville
Okay.
serve. They don't serve Miller Lite, which I'm still getting used to.
Another Nashville Broadway.
Gotta say bus pass. Everybody that comes into town when we're going to hit Broadway, I was like, I don't even know Broadway. Expensive drinks, bachelorette trips, which I mean it depends on your mood. But I love Midtown in Nashville. That's where all the
Yeah.
locals hang out.
Roberts is still sick though. Roberts
Roberts
keeps
is
it
the
real.
spot.
You have a couple.
Shout out Ian Cripps.
Have a couple of zaps and a bologna sandwich. late
A
night.
couple zaps and a bologna. you know Roberts pretty well. If I go to Broadway, it's got to be Roberts or Luke Bryan. Shout out Luke Bryan.
Last question. If you had two billboards, one was in Nashville, one's in LA, they say the same thing. What would you say on that billboard?
Man, would it be my face on it?
Yeah, your face with a quote.
God, don't die in safety. Be a pioneer.
Oh my gosh. That is strong, man. That's strong.
Now we got to get you out of Albany, man.
We love you. We really do.
Love y'all too.
Well,
Thanks for having me on here.
Hopefully you'll be around for a day.
That's a good.
Maybe. Are you around for a day?
Yeah, I'm working out here tomorrow.
Awesome. We'll have some apps and zaps later.
Apps and zaps.
You'll get to meet the rest of the team here, but dude, you're special. As Michael Scott said, may your couch fly as high as your dreams.
Cut. That's good.
For more information about Jake Kinney, and he is a remarkable young man, visit his Instagram at Pioneer Artist. If you own or run a business, you need to know about Due Process. Visit our website at dueprocessusa.com for more information. Today's podcast is produced by the Levee Studios. Visit theleveestudios.com. Let us help you tell your story. It's the right thing to do.
I'm living my best life. I wake up with the sunrise. It does not look a thing like I thought that it would. I'm living my best life.
Process is Everything podcast is available wherever you find your favorite podcast.